Welcome to Keep This On, Season 5, Episode 3, where we watch Undercover Billionaire, Season 1, Episode 1. I'm Chris Lorenz.
Robert Getz.
Noah Singer.
This is James.
So...
Just kidding. I'm undercover. It's Undercover Max, everybody.
Oh!
So this is not the Undercover Boss show. This is a completely separate show. Do not get confused.
Different show.
People in the audience, you watched a completely separate show, but they stole the same name, but not the same idea.
So people out there who refer to Undercover Boss as just Undercover B might be a little confused, but everyone else, it's different.
We just want to warn you off, at least right now, to make sure you watch the right show. Rob, do you have a show description up?
I got it.
Okay.
Glenn Stearns has just 90 days to build $1 million business from scratch. With only $100 in his pocket, the self-made billionaire is determined to recreate his rags-to-riches success and prove the American dream is still alive. That's Undercover Billionaire on Discovery.
Yeah, so, this guy walks off his plane like The Rock with a bag of $1 million. And then he gets in this truck with $100 in Erie, Pennsylvania, of all places. And he's trying to make money with this $100. And throughout the show, his goal is $3,300, which is what he calculated his budget at, to live in Erie, Pennsylvania for 90 days. But the show's budget is $1 million. He's trying to make $1 million in 90 days. And I think we saw like a week almost.
Yes.
And, to a point. And he's at $400. Which, not the worst case scenario, but we'll have to get into it.
It was not looking good for like 5 days there, and then really hit his stride.
Yeah. So I'll go over a little bit of what happens in this episode, then we'll go beat by beat into the minutia. So we find out that he had alcoholic parents. We figure out his backstory. He gets on a plane to PA. He didn't know where he was going. Kept his budget. He's sleeping in his car for this whole episode. He works at a rubber company, tries to sell like dog toys. Then he goes to a soup kitchen. Then he works at a clothing store, like a printing store, essentially. Then he cleans a house. Then he goes to St. Patrick's Day and sells green shit to people. And that's where he gets the majority of his money. And that's the kind of broad strokes. So we'll get into the minutia of what each one of these gets into. But I guess we should probably start with the guy himself.
Yeah.
Noah, what's this guy's name and what's his backstory?
Bear Stearns.
He is Glenn Stearns, not a Bear Stearns. He has a tumultuous childhood. He had a child when he was 14 years old. But somehow, or through termination, he ended up founding a company that made it pretty successful, all the way to give him a net worth of, at least today, of $500 million. So the guy did kind of well for himself, and his company is called Stearns Lending. That does home mortgages.
Wait, half a billion?
This guy
I
is
thought
not
this was some kind of undercover billionaire.
This is some bullshit.
Yeah, so there's a Forbes article that claims that Glenn is not actually a true billionaire. They put him at $500 million. But
realistically, you have $500 million. You have $1 billion. Like, what do you get? What don't you have?
Yeah,
$1 billion.
My hunch, I'm like browsing the article, is probably a lot of his money is in ownership of his company. So I'm sure that goes ups and downs, and so he can claim $1 billion at some point, is my guess.
That's fair.
Do you know what he doesn't have, Chris?
Trace commas?
That third comma.
I want doors like this. Not like this.
I didn't see the doors. I don't know what his doors look like, and they might not be up to par.
You have that helicopter.
You know, like the show is nice about, they really lay it on thick of him trying to go from his normal life to this life there, where they pick him up off his yacht in a helicopter,
And he's like,
to his private jet, and he flies on his private jet, and they make a point of him telling the pilot, "Go wherever they tell you to go," because he doesn't know where they're going. It's just
I fight with this whole time. Like, how much of this is staged? How much does he know? Like, that's definitely pervasive throughout this whole episode.
It is, although he seems much more authentic than other shows we watch that
absolutely.
have a nonsense premise that you're not sure to buy into.
No, yeah. I mean,
There's
definitely, like, I came into this thinking it was going to be terrible and all set up in some weird bit. But, like, I do think this guy feels very genuine. Like, he's pulling me in, unlike a lot of other shows that we've seen.
I could realistically see everything that happened to this guy actually happen. I do not need any suspension of disbelief.
Like, I think a good example is when he's like sleeping in the car. They really do a good job, I think, of making it seem like he really did sleep in that truck those nights. Like they definitely could have faked it if they wanted to, but like it comes across legit.
Yeah, I mean, in this episode, we see him like take a shower in like some random bathroom, or at least pulls himself down and use the like hair dryer. Like we see him sleep at that motel too. I do think they did a really good job of making it assume that he's done all of this.
So the premise is he gets off his private jet, and he has three things. He has $100 cash, he has a pickup truck, and he has a cell phone. They make a big deal of the fact it has no contacts in it, but it has all the connectivity for 4G internet and all that stuff that he can use. And he sort of says his goal at first is, he's like, I can't be focused on my business, so focused on survival. So he does some research and figures out he probably needs about $1,100 a month to live in Erie. And so therefore he's like, my first goal is to turn my $100 into $3,300 to cover my living expenses, and then I can actually work on making the business.
Yeah, the one question that I have is the crew.
Where was the crew sleeping when he was sleeping in his car?
I mean, I think the crew can do whatever the hell they want. And I think his cover was like very reasonable and good. They explained that the cover for all these camera guys following this guy is he's just a normal guy who had a corporate job and then left to found his own business. That was, again, believable. It gives them sort of the cover to like go sleep in a hotel, yada yada yada.
I do wonder if like, is there a cameraman who stays with him all night and they like have shifts where like they come and go, or do the cameraman film him for a while? They're like, all right, we're going to the hotel. We'll see you in the morning, and then they like leave in the car. Like I also wonder from like a security standpoint if they want to have someone there while he's just sleeping in his car. But I'm sure that they're sleeping in hotels and they've got some kind of shift system set up, because there's definitely multiple cameramen, so they could do stuff.
Well, we saw at least two, like separate.
Yeah, we saw at least two. I don't know if it's like two seems like a reasonable number. I don't know if they have more than that.
Yeah, I do like in the show that when he went around town, they explicitly showed the shots where like, why do you have a cameraman with you? What's going on? Where in a lot of reality shows, it's just like, oh, of course it's a cameraman and a boom mic behind you.
And there's like a producer ahead of them to like sign the releases and stuff.
Well, I'm sure he still has a producer ahead of him to sign the releases.
You think so?
I mean, someone's got to be signing those releases.
That's fair.
But then, do you think then they're saying like, hey, let's make it seem more authentic, like ask about the cameras?
Maybe, I don't know.
Right, because like, if you're doing a release, they're going to be like, what? You know?
Like, at some
He's got
point,
a good point.
they must have signed a release for all these people to be showing their faces on this show, right? Like, that's how the law works.
Totally.
Well, some of the people had their faces blurred out in the suit. So they didn't sign faces.
Right, but all the people, I think that just proves that all the people that didn't have their faces blurred out, which was most of the people, must have signed faces.
The question is, they blur them, get the release before or after it shows up.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you guys ever seen, like, when you walk into some places, it's like, we're recording some kind of thing today. Like, you might be part of this film. No?
What kind of places are you going to?
Noah, not only have I seen this, I've seen this in the Australia Airport Customs. They have there's the show called Border Patrol that I think we did the Canada version of. That the original one is being filmed right there. Remember, all cops are bastards.
Thanks, man.
Well, anyway, when I wonder if you can do that in like certain places and not have to do the whole release process.
I don't know. This is why we need to get into producing. We gotta make our own.
Yeah.
What if they picked Pennsylvania because the laws in Pennsylvania are really lax on the whole release signing?
I think there are two-sided recording statements.
We should definitely get into we put this on instead of do that.
Is that the name of a producing crew or a production company?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good.
I agree.
So to pick Erie, like, do you think the was he what option is he was actually involved in picking where they go, and the fact that it was all lie? Option they present is the producers just picked somewhere, but do you think he gave some guidelines, okay, this is the kind of town, this is the kind of stuff we're looking for, and so we want okay, we'll find something that meets the intersection of that Venn diagram, and and go from there. And so when he shows up, he doesn't know where he is, but he kind of knows what kind of situation he's getting.
That seems very reasonable.
No, I think that the town is with the pitch of the show. Like, hey, we're gonna go to middle of nowhere America or some smaller city, small town, and we're gonna show him work up the local town culture. That is the vibe of this show is the local town culture. And that is definitely in the pitch of the show. That is all the way through. That's not hey, we just picked this town and we're going to see what comes up through the video that they recorded. This is, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to get some shots of him and dealing with a lot of locals and a lot of all this, I don't know, this rundown city and try to spruce it up. I think that was, he knew he was going to at least a similar place, let alone if he knew exactly where or not, is up to being that.
Yeah, I agree. They probably had some parameters like that. He definitely knew he was going somewhere cold because he had those long underwear things. So there was some clear parameters, maybe a former Union town, something like that, to really set that direction.
It's awesome.
Chris, as our resident expert on all things Pennsylvania, tell us all about Erie, Pennsylvania.
So it's on the lake, so it gets a lot of lake effect snow. So you don't really want to go there. It's pretty far away from everything. You wouldn't catch me in Erie because I grew up in the Philadelphia area, and it's literally a 10-hour drive or something crazy. There's no reason to go there. You've seen it? There's nothing there. So that's all I know about Erie, Pennsylvania.
All right, thank you.
Did you ever think you'd take a trip out there for Pennsylvania?
No. I mean, I thought about it for a second or two when I was in college because it was I was halfway there. But then again, I was halfway there. So this really, again, it's not that close.
I imagine people take lake house trips there, right? I mean, it is Lake Erie.
There's lots of lakes. You wouldn't go all the way to Lake Erie. Right? You could go to Canada. It's not even the closest Great Lake to Philadelphia area, at least.
What's the closest Great Lake to Philadelphia?
What's the one in New York? Superior?
Yep.
Might be Lake Ontario.
I don't know. Like, Canada is closer than Erie. Like, that's what we're talking about. Like, New York City is like 2 hours away. This is like 8 to 10 hours.
Rob is right. It's Lake Ontario.
Oh.
And Erie.
And here.
So there's one point where, like, after he sleeps in his, I guess it was, anyway, he's buying groceries, and he goes in and he buys these cup of noodles. Which, I mean, probably a good idea when you have like a place to heat water. He just doesn't have anywhere to heat water. And it's definitely shown as like in the store they gave him hot water and a fork to eat these with. But like then we see him sleeping in his car, and I'm like, how is he gonna eat these noodles? Like, he didn't really buy anything that I thought would be useful for when you're like living in your car. And at one point he does get hot water in his car, and I'm like, where'd that come from?
Is hot water the kind of thing you can just get for free if you know like the right person to ask?
I think so. Like, they actually showed him interacting with some clerk from whom he bought the stuff, saying, "Hey, could I get some hot water?"
Yeah,
and like, go ahead.
When he bought the cup of noodles, he asked the woman, "Can I get the hot water?" The second time they show him eating the cup of noodles, though, he mentions the noodles are rock hard. So it's unclear.
Because they were in his freezing car.
Yeah, but like wherever he got the water from, it was like the motel room he rented. Like he couldn't get the water to be boiling.
Mm-hmm.
To get the noodles to be correct. They didn't connect like exactly where, but it was obvious it wasn't a good source, right? Otherwise, it would have been hot water.
I just thought that it wasn't given enough time, but that's also possible. I don't know. I think it was a weird thing for him, but I guess it's the cheapest meal.
Probably, yeah.
3 cups for $2 seems pretty good.
That's pretty good, yeah. That's a lot of calories.
Yeah,
I mean, those other ramen ones are usually cheaper. They're not that readily available to eat.
Yeah, usually though, like if you think of in like 7-Elevens, you can get coffee or tea, and so the tea they have the little hot water thing.
Sure, yeah.
Like I'm sure if you're not causing a stir, you know, they'll be like, fine, whatever. Just...
Yeah, this is not the wildest possible thing.
I think the other kind of controversial thing is like he was out there for what, like a night? Then he was like, "Oh, now I need a hotel." Not like it seemed a little early. Like you only have $100. You have maximum one, no matter what. And he was not having any luck getting any money. So like on the second night you go to a motel, like you have no job prospects lined up for the next day. There's no great reason for him to need a shelter. He just wanted it.
He describes sleeping in the car as so much worse than I expected it to be. Which is, again, good cover that then leads to, I guess I'll get a hotel.
But then it's clear that he has to sleep in his truck until he makes more money.
Sure.
Maybe it's just like better motivation for him. Because he knows he has to keep sleeping in his car until he earns at least $1,100. Or at least like some sort of rent.
Well, yeah. It's another thing where, again, how much of this is set up. I'm sure he went to the motel and was like, maybe I can get away without having to pay if I agree to do some jobs or some work for the guy who owns the motel. And then the guy's like, nah, man, just pay me what you owe me for the room. And he's like, I had to pay the full price. And like, if you really like did think, like, imagine he went into it and he actually did get away with not paying for it. Like, then it's like, oh, that was like really smart that he did that, and it sort of didn't work out. So I wonder, how much of that, like, if it really is genuine, then he's like, well, I'm gonna try a hotel, and because I'm sleeping in the car was really bad, and then he's like, well, no, that was way too expensive. I can't do that again. I've now mentally prepared myself. This is what I got to do.
Well, 2 things. One, you could have just walked out of there. You didn't have to spend it. And the other thing is that this exchange, you remind me, makes it feel much more real. Like he went in and asked, and the guy was just like kind of flustered, like, yeah, I mean, we have guys for that.
Yeah.
For you. is a very realistic thing. I think somebody would tell you, and a very realistic.
Yeah, it was good. But to close out, he does mention on the show that he wants the hotel or the motel room, to be his 100% self for the jobs he's going to get. But I agree. It's a hefty cost, which I think they kind of underplayed. Right, it was half the money he had for that one night.
Yeah, it seems like he should have waited and spent that on food. But again, you never if he's in dire straits, he's not in trouble. That's the thing. It doesn't replicate somebody with $100 in their pocket. Because if he loses $100, I don't know, maybe the camera and film around it and give him more money. There's no real hard line here. Somebody will give him money.
Well, that's the thing in terms of how, even though he's set up this scenario for himself, he's still got some advantages that a person who's truly in the situation wouldn't have. And one of them is that he buys all the money, or we'll talk about how he spends on these St. Patrick's Day things. He's like, I spent all my money. This has got to work, or else I got nothing. He can do that, and if it doesn't work, he's like, well, I guess the show didn't work out. I'm going to go back being a half billionaire.
Yeah,
it's a different calculus than if you're like, well, then if I do that, it doesn't work out, then I'm totally out of money for my life.
Yeah, I think that in the setup of the show, they could have done a better job on saying this isn't meant to resemble someone who's totally out of luck, right? Down to the last penny, right? It's kind of just, I think it more resembles someone who's living a lower middle class life or middle class. And it's no, you too can do this. You have some bare necessities. You have your phone, you have a car. This is what you can do, rather than someone who's literally living the street.
Yeah, I mean, there's also on that front is the things he's given are just such an odd. He's given a car. It shows you how much you need a car in Erie, Pennsylvania, and in 99.9% of America. Good luck if he was given off this plane without a car and $100. Forget it. Nothing.
Yeah,
it's a different type of show. I think they just could have made it clear, hey, there's this type of show, which is we're throwing you on the street, good luck, versus no, there's a minimum bar we're going to put you at, right, to try to get things going.
Definitely. I mean, but at that point, why not just give him the $3,300? So that we can actually see him start doing this business.
And that's definitely the subjective call. If we put this on, would you have started out with $3,300? Different amount of money.
Well,
probably. I want to see him make this business. I don't want to see him sleeping in his car.
I agree, but also if he can actually pull this off, that'll be wild.
I do like the $100 starting point. Is kind of I did find kind of interesting. See, how does he take $100 and try to bootstrap himself up to this $3,300 thing?
Yeah,
and he didn't even make it there yet, which is kind of interesting too. But he doesn't really do it. But the show sort of has this sort of baked into the proving the American dream is still real and anyone can get there. And I that part kind of was well, no, you're not really doing that. That's not really what you're proving with this thing. And I feel that they leaned into that as sort of the marketing hook part of it kind of defeats a little bit of what it's trying to do, because it's you're right, Chris, that it's not that, but it's trying to present itself.
That's my main issue with the show. My main gripe with the show is the American dream aspect, which I got immediately, which is not a complete farce, but essentially a farce, and anything that really elevates it to the next level is kind of bothers me a little bit. So this is what it's definitely trying to do. I feel like he's gonna make a company worth $500,000 to $1 million in this thing.
Yeah, but that's what I think. It's just about more of the expectation setting, right? Because let's say he is able to do that, that's still very impressive, right? And I think that does give a lot of justify inspiration to people. It's like, no, like, you can do this if you have a car and a cell phone. Like, $100 spare, like.
Well, you need a car, you need a cell phone, you need to be able to say, hey, I'm going to leave my kids on my yacht while I go do this. I'm curious how the camera crew helps. Like, are people going to give them chances, give them opportunities? Because, like, oh, you're some guy with, like, a camera crew or part of some documentary? Oh, yeah, sure. And what kind of doors does that kind of open? Like, in a subtle way. Like, it's not, obviously, it doesn't, like, solve the problem for you. But it's a little thing that I think changes how people react to you, changes what sort of small things people will do for you kind of in a meaningful way. So, like, he's not just a guy with a car and a cell phone. Like, he's got these other advantages. And he's also, like, he's a white guy. That also helps with the stuff, too.
Totally. Yeah,
he's also a guy that he's essentially comes in with no baggage. No one knows him. No one knows he's an asshole. He has no debts. He's got no obligations for these 3 months. He's got no fucks to give. Like, in a lot of cases where people are like, well, I got $100. Let's live. There's so much more baggage you've got. Even if you, like, the 6 of us could be like, all right, well, let's fuck it. Quit our jobs and try to make $1 million business. We could do that. But we're not pretending that it's the American dream. Like, we have money. We have things to make that easier. Like, that's why it's disingenuous. It's not just like, this show could provide you with it, like, the word is escaping me,
intersectional joy?
Like, it could give you ideas and help you go out and do some of the things he's doing. But it's disingenuous to say that. Anyway, so you look at this guy, he did it on the show, anyone, like, that's just not true.
Yes. Like, you can pull yourself up by the bootstraps all by yourself, obviously, is not true, right? And, like, the fact that he has no debt to think about, no consequences if he doesn't make this happen, is a huge credit in his pocket that other people can't afford to have in a similar situation. That said, I do think they do a better job at portraying, like, the ability of someone to get something done compared to other things that we have seen or other portrayals of, like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
I mean, it's certainly better than Shark Tank in that respect. Like, the amount of time you see on people on Shark Tank versus how much time they've spent in their personal wealth to get to that point in their life to even pitch that shitty idea to Shark Tank is, like, astronomical. Compared to, like, you see this guy, and you see him do, like, these shitty jobs and make, like, essentially no money. Like, he's got $100. He works at this, like, he tries to work at this rubber company selling some dog meat. And, like, for $1 a ball, like, he goes to a dog park. Like, if every dog, like, he's just an idiot. But he makes $0 on that. Or negative, because he wasted a ball, throwing it, got it dirty. Can't really sell that now. So, but we see him, go from that to making a couple $100 selling stuff for St. Patrick's Day. So, like, there is some level of, like, he shows you the worst, keeps going up.
Yeah. You're right.
Chris, would you pay someone $80 to clean your car for you?
I don't know. Maybe. Probably. I have in the past, but I haven't lately.
I mean, that seems to answer the question.
But I stopped. So, like, if you come to my door right now, and I'm like, I don't know.
But it's realistic. Someone replied to his ad and said, hey, clean my place for $80. And that actually happened.
Yeah, definitely realistic. Okay. But, like, you start with $100. You do a couple hours of cleaning, you get $80. You're still not anywhere close to $3,300.
But, like, he'd spent, at that point, he'd spent the $50 on the motel and bought some food and stuff. So he was down to, like, $30 at that point. So, like, to some degree, you need to, like, get a little bit of a baseline. And, like, at the end of it, he buys all this St. Patrick's Day stuff and resells it at a profit. you need to have some money to buy some St. Patrick's Day stuff to resell. So you need like a little bit of a baseline to do anything. So getting that $80 was actually key to him having more than 400 by then.
Yeah, fair. He also worked at that clothing store.
Yeah, he was. Was he like screen printing T-shirts? Is that what he was doing?
It seems. Also, doesn't seem like somebody I'd hire off the street to do like. I can't imagine he can't find somebody to do that lives in the area that has worked with him before.
Yeah, and like he seemed to like basically what we saw is we saw a lot of like training, and then he got paid like $60 for 6 hours of work. It's like. How much of that did he actually do work? How much of that was just him getting training? Like, I don't know. And does that guy expect him to come back now that he trained him? Or was this part of the whole camera crew helping him out? Like that, something about that just seemed a little weird to me. Of like, would that guy really give this Brando $60 and all that training for one day of work?
It seemed to me like a recurring job. Or rather, not recurring, but he said there was like a spike in orders for some part of the year. So I think, like, if it was a temp for a week type job, that's totally reasonable.
But is he going to go back and do that thing again? Or
no, he didn't. Like I don't. The timeline is a little weird, but I don't think he went back like the next day. Like the next day wasn't St. Patrick's Day.
No, I don't think so.
So like, what happens is that on St. Patrick's Day he calls the guy that owns this like store. It's like, hey, you want to sell T-shirts while I sell like stupid green shit on St. Patrick's Day with me? And he's like, sure, which is also kind of weird. Like, you'll hire this temp worker, and now you're gonna go sell stuff with him. Like, it definitely seems like producers could have easily primed the pump for this relationship to be like, hey, we're on the show. If you could do us a favor by helping him out. Like giving him a job for the day, be really appreciative, and then like once he finds that out, he's like, "Oh, anytime he calls, like sure, I'll do that because I'll be on the show." So that's also something that in the back of your mind, I'm thinking of because honestly, the show is very close to feeling real, but then once you start thinking about it, it kind of falls apart. One thing I do want to bring about that selling the dog balls was just so bad. Like, you can't go to a dog park and solicit things. They don't want to be solicited. They're there to like interact with other dog owners and let their dog exercise. You can't they don't want to be sold dog toys.
Yep.
It is not. And then. He gets $1 per ball. If all the dogs at the dog park bought a ball, he would have won like $12. Like, it's just like, you gotta sell those to stores. Like, I don't understand where you go to earn any amount of money to sell these things for $1.
You're never too good for a job, Chris. It's rule number 4.
I have some of the rules written down, but like
they should have numbered those rules.
You have to sell them to Walmart to make like any amount of money.
Yeah.
Like I'm curious about that because like it seemed really dumb, and then he's like, "Man, that was really dumb. I got to stop doing that." And like, again, like how much of that was like, did he actually like convince himself it was a good idea temporarily, and then realize it was a mistake, or is this like I'm just trying to think of why he thought that was a good idea because it does go against kind of what he was saying he was trying to do.
Well,
we haven't mentioned that. Part of his idea that we don't know if is going to come into play next week is he's like, I got this pickup truck, and people want to pay money for wrought iron fences and big tires for like mechanical equipment. So I'm going to drive around to abandoned warehouses and find wrought iron fences and like good serviceable giant tires. And so far, he hasn't found any of these things.
They spend a good 5 minutes on this, and it's gone nowhere. Which, honestly, I think adds to sort of the reality of this.
It's got to pay off in episode 2. I feel like there's no way they could put this much time into it and not have something outcoming.
Well, spoilers, I'll let you know what happens in episode 2.
I just don't understand what he's thinking. Like, people don't throw giant tires. That's just not something anyone's going to do. Like, they saw tons of thrown out tires in these abandoned junkyards for some reason.
But like this, it's so the way it's edited. It's so set up. He's gonna find some giant tires and sell them for like $2,000. Like, and I don't understand it, but I feel like it's got to happen next episode.
I hope they're just setting you up for failure. That's just not.
I mean, I'd have some respect if that was the case. If they spent all this time on the tire hunt, and it's like, yeah, that was useless. Like, it's kind of.
Like, you might be able to find some like copper somewhere, but even still, I'm sure they would break through for that.
Oh yeah, just like stripping copper from abandoned buildings. I don't think that's actually
probably.
Is going to abandoned buildings and stealing tires from them legal?
I think if they are marked as, if one could make the assumption that it's trash based on its location, I'm going to go with a strong maybe.
We're the authority on this.
Yes,
we should know.
In the Capitol Hill authoritarian zone, autonomous zone, you can do whatever you want. You can steal as many tires as you want.
Got it.
A iron fence too, like not a fence. It's like a specific fence.
They even had some sort of little tidbit of like, these kind of fences haven't been made since the 60s.
Yeah, that was so weird. Like, we're learning on the Discovery Channel. Look at these two learning tidbits.
There was more history of this show than any show in the history.
That's fair. I mean, like, when they so specific about the two items he's looking for. It's not like, hey, there's like 50 items on Craigslist people are trying to buy. Maybe we should look for all of those.
Maybe these are like well-known hacks if you're like moving to a new city. I don't know.
Well-known hacks to look through abandoned buildings for giant tires that the vehicles don't fit through into the buildings.
Every person in Philadelphia grows up knowing you gotta look for tires.
But not any tire. He found lots of tires.
Oh, yeah.
He found car tires were no good. He did find some giant tires. He's like, these ones have no tread on them. They're too worn. They're actually junk. But it's like, yeah, they're thrown out. They're actually junk.
Yeah, that's why they're in the dumpster, you idiot. So I have some of the sayings.
Do it.
So, like, as the episode progresses, you get this, like, fourth wall break where he brings up some, like, tidbit from, like, in Zombieland, the rules. So, like, these are the rules he brings up. I don't have them all, so I can start writing them down until too late. But he's got, know your strengths and weaknesses. Find your buyer first. No job is beneath you. Diversify your efforts. And buy low, sell.
Rules all around.
The find the buyers first was good. Like, I actually don't think I've heard of that. And if I had, like, I don't forgot it. I think that was kind of hard.
I mean, it's not usually said like in that way, but it's definitely been like, hey, make an MVP first, or like, hey, make a landing page, get people invested before you like go out and start a giant like invest a ton of time into a business or something.
Even then, that's like very different.
What do you mean? That's exactly what that means.
No, I would argue it's not.
How is that not what it means?
So, if you're creating a minimum viable product, MVP, for listeners who don't know what MVP means, or some kind of prototype, like, you're starting off with assuming, like, there is some need out there in the world. Whereas what he's doing is, like, people are declaring an explicit need, and he's going out to find a way to fulfill that. So, it could be like an order of operations here, but his focus on, like, I don't give a shit what they need, I'm just going to find it, is kind of unique.
I have to, Noah, if you're just jumping right into the MVP before you do any market research, then I think you're doing something wrong. So, you're right, if you just jump into an MVP, then you're right, that is not what he's saying to do. He's saying to make sure that people are looking for the thing you're trying to build, or buy, or find.
Yeah.
Which is what you should do before an MVP, but that's fine.
All good. Okay.
I think No Job is beneath you. He's like, when he was going to clean that house, like, I think that's good advice for some people. Like, some people can be like, well, I'm not going to clean the house. But obviously, when I'm not down to $100, I don't have to go clean the house. So, like, some jobs are beneath me.
Maybe he'll come back. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
I might spend 3 months on Who Put This On set, where I have to, or we put this on set, where I've got to clean. Also, it's like, so the St. Patty's Day. So he goes and he buys a bunch of stuff at like Walmart or something, and then sells it in downtown Erie at a bar essentially. He tries to sell it at a parade, not look like he was doing it. But like, and he makes what 4x what he put in.
Sure.
But that's like relying on this event. What is his next? Like, you can't 4x something else the same way. He's got to come up with something else.
Sure. However, it's not going to come into play this early, but like at some point you can start investing stuff and shorting stuff. Like once you have wealth, it is much easier to acquire more wealth.
Yes, I get that. But at $400, you got to eat, you got to find a place to live. Like, you're not even there yet.
Yeah.
This is why I feel like the tire thing is going to come into play, and all of a sudden, boom, he's got 3,300, and then it's off to actually make business. Like I feel like it's got to happen. I don't know.
But like, once he gets 3,300, what's he gonna do? Like, not spend that money to make money? Like, it seems like a weird goal. All right, I got to make 2,000, so I give about 1,000 down for my deposit, and then each month I need to make another 1,000, and just 1,000. To make that 1,000, like, that's just a weird goal.
I think the idea is it's like, okay, I don't need to worry about any of that stuff. That shelter, food, I don't need to worry about it. I got 3,300, and now I totally focus on the business solely set.
But we just saw him have to spend all his money so we can make more money.
Right.
So, like, you can't just get to 3,300 and be like, okay, well, back down to this, I have 3,310. So let's use this $10. like we just discussed how that doesn't work.
Well, you gotta watch episode 2 and see what happens.
You gotta. There's no Wikipedia page to figure out what happens.
No, there's no internet corner for you, Chris.
No internet corner for me. I guess the last bit of minutia we didn't really talk about was the soup kitchen.
Oh yeah.
He seemed really moved at the soup kitchen because, like, I know, like, he hasn't been in a position where he needed to go to a soup kitchen for ever or for a long time, like, probably ever. So, I mean, it seems like probably more people could, like, also get that kind of lesson. I think that, or, like, go and experience that, because I think that is missing in a lot of society today. But,
sure. Yeah.
And this is the one thing where it seemed like all the people were aware of the documentary crew, but all the people coming in were curious about it. So you get a more sense of it being a documentary than a reality show in this segment.
Do we want to dive into that real quick? I think I can one and done.
Well, I think this is I'm just saying, I think I'll put my 2 cents, you can put your 2 cents, and we'll move away.
Sure.
But I think it's a reality show because it's a producer set-up show. Like, producers set all these, like, bells and whistles together. They're saying, hey, you're going to do this. And they're not like, hey, we're filming this event. And, the event's going to go on whether or not this documentary exists. Or this film project exists. Whereas without this show, this thing doesn't exist.
Yep, agreed. For the exact same reason.
Yeah, this is 100% a reality show.
Yep.
Just because their cover story is a documentary, the end product is not a documentary.
And we've seen a lot of reality shows. I can't think of anything that's like immediately comparable. You know?
Compare it to Undercover Boss for me, Max.
Okay, Undercover Boss is just like this black hole in my mind where I just kind of dwell and think about the hour of my life wasted on that show. Whereas Undercover Billionaire, great show, love that show.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is the only show we've done. Like, Undercover Boss is like a similar concept on the high level, where they're like, hey, we're going to put you in this specific situation and then film you as you have some sort of goal. But it's kind of like The Colony to an extent, too, where they're like, we've set up this event, we've set this thing up for you.
Sure. Yeah.
You have this goal, now go do it. Like, we don't get a lot of those like reality shows nowadays.
Yep.
It's not like I don't see a lot of those getting greenlit. So this, for a 2019 show, this is, it's pretty odd. Should we get to ratings? Anyone have any other minutia there?
But one last thing. I feel like do they say his goal is to make $1 million, or do they say a business that's worth $1 million?
I think they say he wants to make $1 million.
Yeah.
But the next time this season on definitely made it seem like he wants the business.
Because this also gets into valuations of business and how many tech startups you're worth $1 million. It's like I in a week I made a business worth $1 million. The next week it's worth $0. I don't know. If he was actually had to make $1 million in actual revenue, that would be. It sounds like that would be more impressive, and I don't think that's what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. It's an odd. I assume he's not going to.
I mean, based on this season on, I think he's not even trying to make $1 million. He's just trying to get $1 million valuation on whatever his business is.
Okay, two questions. This is the first question. Do you think he's going to make $1 million? More than three. Just, do you think he's going to make $1 million? Not valuation of a company, just $1 million. Rob.
I'm going to say no.
Max.
I hope so, but no.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think his business will be evaluated at $1 million? Rob.
Yes.
Max.
Realm of possibility.
No, it's a yes or no answer.
Yes.
No.
Wait. I thought the business being valued at $1 million didn't mean that he made $1 million.
Pay attention, Noah.
Okay, Noah no longer gets a vote.
Yeah, Noah's cut.
I'm actually not going to vote. Sorry.
Chris, what do you say?
So I didn't answer the first one. I'm going to go with no. And I'm going to go with yes on this.
Okay.
His business would be valued $1 million, but I don't think he's going to own the whole business, and the business will have debts or whatever to get to the millions. Because I get Noah is saying that, if the business is worth $1 million, then he has $1 million, which is not true. In any respect. Just because somebody said it was worth $1 million doesn't mean, maybe if somebody buys the business for $1 million, then both of those things will be true.
No, totally. And sorry for getting tunnel vision in the corner. Yeah, I agree that just because it's valued, you still got to find something to buy it.
I was going to say this is an opportunity for us to make a who put this on bet, but we all agree.
I was going to write it down, then I was like, wait, we all agree. But my last question before we get to ratings is, how do you think he makes the $3,300? Just the next level.
I told you what I'm convinced is going to happen.
I know you did. You say he finds a giant tire?
Multiple giant tires.
Okay. Max, what do you think?
I have 4 words for you. St. Patty's Day 2. He invents a new holiday.
No, what about you? Noah doesn't want to give an answer because he sucks. I think he's going to sell T-shirts. I think he's going to work with that guy. He's going to sell.
He's going to sell $3,300 in T-shirts.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was cutting myself off because I been looking ahead and whatnot. That's what I'm in the corner, and so I'm gonna escape.
Noah's spoiler corner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's legit.
So he knows. Okay.
I appreciate your commitment to no spoilers, Noah.
I'm trying hard.
All right. Let's get to ratings. Max, what do you got for me?
Top third. Not surprising anybody. You know what? I really enjoyed this show. Top of the top. Fuck it.
Top of the top.
It's not. You know what? It's middle of the top. I'm not ecstatic about it, but it's very good.
Noah, what do you got for us?
Yeah, this show was surprisingly very good. So I'm gonna put it in the middle of the top. I'm cautious with the top of the top. Just because it wasn't I'm going to tell everyone to watch this, which I think would really clinch it for top to top. But very surprised and delighted with Undercover Billionaire.
All right, Rob, what do you got?
Definitely not. I did think it was a good show. I'm definitely not as into it as Max and Noah. I thought it did kind of drag a little bit, on his tire quest kind of got a little, and the American Dream framing kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth about that's not really what's going on. But I think I'll still put it in the top. I think it was a pretty interesting show. I am thinking about, do I want to try to make some time to watch the second episode and see him find those giant tires? But I'm it's definitely more of a bottom of the top, kind of on the borderline for me.
Man, Rob, you really took the words out of my mouth. I think the framing device, I really hate the American Dream, but I do think it can be inspirational for people, just as long as people understand the consequences. Mm-hmm. But in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking how real is this? This would probably go away the more you watch it. I think the evidence was starting to add up that it feels more and more real. But who knows? Once more and more money gets thrown around, I don't know. But I came in with a prejudice, so it's really hard for me to come out with I'll go top there. I'll do it.
Okay.
We'll put it there.
Chris, I respect
it's really borderline. I think it could easily go middle third if the next episode or two is
for sure. Unanimous top. That's episode 3 of season 5.
All right.
Strong start.
Rob, what other shows have gotten straight tops?
We go over it in the finale every time. You were there.
I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. I don't know. Let me pull it up.
Shark Tank?
Shark Tank did.
Did they get full tops? Yeah.
I don't have my notes for the finale. I gotta look. I'll go through it. Savage Builds, Shark Tank, 90 Day Fiancé the other way. Those are the 3 from season 4.
In season 3, we have Fortune Fire, we have Joe Schmo Show, and Take Me Out.
Joe Schmo Show was definitely not a unanimous top. What are you talking about? I feel confident in that.
I'm looking at the. Oh yeah, sorry, you are correct. I was. The other 2 are correct.
Well, if you want to know our top 5 and bottom 5s, please listen to our season finales. You get a lot of opinions on a lot of shows. You can weed out the cruft, I think, if you listen to it.
All right, well, end with this one. Jersey Shore Family Vacation, 7 top thirds. Will never be topped. Unanimous across 7 people.
Is that a hot tub pod?
No.
No. We watched it at your place.
Yeah.
When are you doing a hot tub pod again?
I heard hot tub pods are not appropriate for social distancing, so I think we got to get to phase 3 first. We're only in phase 1.4 and a half or something.
There's just a lot of people congregating outside my house, so I feel a lot less needed to social distance. Not to mention it's been 3 months or so of this.
I mean, Chris, I don't want a hot tub and wear a mask at the same time.
That sounds awful.
I know. I get it. We still need to be social distancing out there. Do social distance. Stay away from your friends and their hot tubs. Wouldn't the like superheated water like kill the virus? Like
I don't know. I hot tubbed last night, so I'm not hot tubbing, but just it's in a socially distanced way right now.
The hot tub, you're still outside.
You are outside,
like, and below the neck isn't in the water.
but you're not 6 feet apart.
You're not 6 feet.
So
Even corner to corner, I don't think you're 6 feet apart.
what if we all buy our own hot tubs?
You set up Zoom calls between the hot tubs.
Or
I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm already ready.
what if we have like scuba masks? When we go to the hot tub.
You know, I think that would work.
And
I
then
just don't want to do that.
we can use a little breather hole as like a beer funnel.
What if we get some tear gas masks from cops and we use those?
Oh. Now you talking.
Now we're done.
Anyone got anything they want to update us on? I don't.
I haven't had to be able to watch much anything lately, other than repeated viewings of the Toy Story 1 through 4. So,
What is your Toy Story rankings? Since you've seen all of them very recently.
you make it seem like I only see them one time very recently. I think my ranking, I think I'm putting 3 on top, and then 1, 2, 4. 4, I thought the new characters were really good and a lot of funny vignettes, but I thought the overall plot was the through line plot was not strong.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So you have 2 on the bottom or 4?
4 at the bottom.
I have a quick update.
Yes.
Sure.
So this is actually an update to last week's awful show, which was 90 Day Fiance something. We noticed afterwards that a new season of 90 Day Fiance The Other Way is coming on, and it has a returning couple, Jenny and Sumit.
Insane.
Just as a quick update to them, she left India after discovering that Sumit is currently married.
You know how it goes.
You know how it goes.
This will also be her 3rd time going to India. I assuming her 2nd time to be there permanently. Maybe.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts. That's my update.
So Max, are you in? You watching the whole? You will watch the whole season?
Okay.
I'd probably give it a shot, but I don't really want to see her at all. Like I spend 19 fucking episodes with her, and I'm done. Like,
yeah,
get her off my TV.
They're boring. No, I'm not. I will watch if Chris says it's good.
Okay, we'll see. It was also useful last time because I could just binge it all. I didn't have to like wait week to week. I'm not sure I really care. Week to week. I guess that's it for this week. You can find us on Twitter at @UBITHISON. You can find us on Facebook.com/UBITHISON. Email us questions and suggestions at UBITHISON@gmail.com. We'll see you guys next time. Noah, give us your updates. I hit the record button. You're in.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so y'all haven't seen Waco, limited series on Netflix about the shootings in Waco and trying to negotiate the branch Davies. Pretty good docudrama, limited series. And then Space Force. I think some folks have been watching that. It's a comedy show on Netflix where it seems like everyone on the show is famous. Unclear how they got the budget to pull it off, but clear they did not spend enough on the writing. The show is fine to watch, but definitely so much potential that you just want to deliver more, and they don't actually get there, unfortunately. But it's pleasant enough. I would still recommend it.
I have a question for you, Noah. Are Chip and Joanna Gaines Branch Davidians?
Ooh. Could be. Likely not.
Okay.
But, I think it's one of those conspiracy theories that just gets put out there. Is Antifa involved?
Many people are saying this.
Yeah, I've heard that some people might think this.
I have been watching Space Force. I've seen 3 episodes. We talked about it last week, I think.
Yeah.
And I love it. I think it's hilarious.
Really?
I don't get it. I think it's so funny.
I
laugh out loud so often.
I watched episode 1. It was better than I expected.
It is. I think you have to be thinking and watching and like, actively catching the jokes. And I could see easily missing the jokes. For sure. I could see the negative. But that's just my 2 cents.
It's a little bit on the. The show that Veep is based off of. I think it was like a British show.
Oh, In the Loop or something?
Yeah. It feels like that, where it's like extremely dry on some of the humor. That where In the Loop or whatever it's called, like I found okay, but Veep I found awesome. Where, like they turned up like the raunchiness and like the absurdity of what's happening.
It's based off In the Loop and The Thick of It.
Yeah. Any other shows you want to shout out, Noah?
No, but I wonder if The Thick of It's porn.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the end of that again.